This is the same country that is building rockets to go to Mars and spending over $1 trillion on defense. If anyone would tell you that this picture is in the US, you would think that you are in a very poor third world country. This way, the widening gap between the very rich and the very poor is increasing at an exponential rate. If you think that this does not concern you and the poor deserve poor, you are making a huge mistake. Imagine that in 24 hours you will lose all your savings, like the people with failing banks. Even the very rich have seen it when Bernard Madoff stole their money. You should never ignore and think that you are better than these people on the street, because you could very well find yourself in a similar position within a blink of an eye. The growing gap between the very poor and the very rich is a stark reminder of the widening economic inequality in our society. As the wealthy continue to accumulate wealth and power, the gap between the two ends of the economic spectrum is becoming increasingly pronounced. The consequences of this widening gap are dire, as it threatens to undermine the foundations of our future. The widening gap between the very poor and the very rich has been caused by a number of factors. The increasing automation of production processes has led to a decrease in the number of jobs available, while the rising cost of living has put immense pressure on those who are already struggling to make ends meet. Additionally, the influence of the wealthy on the political process has only served to exacerbate this gap. Wealthy individuals and corporations are able to use their influence to shape regulations and policies that favor their interests, while those at the bottom of the economic ladder are left with fewer resources and opportunities to climb higher. The consequences of this widening gap on our future are dire. The lack of economic mobility for those at the bottom of the economic ladder threatens our social cohesion, as inequality leads to resentment and alienation from broader society. Furthermore, the increasing concentration of wealth in the hands of the few also threatens to create a cycle of poverty, as those at the bottom of the economic ladder lack the resources to invest in their education and skills. This, in turn, further perpetuates the economic inequality in our society. Finally, the widening gap between the very poor and the very rich threatens to undermine the foundations of our future. Inequality leads to a decrease in economic growth and productivity, which in turn threatens our economic stability and prosperity. Furthermore, the concentration of wealth in the hands of the few creates an environment of uncertainty and instability, as those at the top become increasingly resistant to change. The widening gap between the very poor and the very rich is a stark reminder of the growing economic inequality in our society. The consequences of this gap are dire, as it threatens to undermine the foundations of our future. We must act now to bridge this gap, through the implementation of policies that promote economic equality and mobility. Only then will we be able to ensure a prosperous and equitable future for all.